welcome back to another EDH deck tech and my continuation into the depths of mono black. So today got an interesting one. So I've got my Kokusho the Evening Star deck, one that I kind of build and take apart and build and take apart. Really depends on my mood. So Kokusho with Neon Dynasty, it really inspired me to go back to the Kamigawa Legends, but I did have a Kokusho deck for some time now. It was really probably the first one of the Kamigawa ones that I enjoyed. Kokusho has always been an interesting one to build with. It really would make the draft of a lot of my decks. You know, Kokusho itself make the draft of a lot of my decks. It would always be like, you know, my 120 cards that I've kind of go, okay, these are the kind of cards that I want to kind of play, and I need to narrow it down. And it would always kind of make that card, it would never kind of stay in the deck, only because although its effect is powerful, it doesn't really impact the board in any way, in any meaningful way. So it was always a bit hard to justify having it in my decks. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to build around it because I did like playing with Kokusho, but yeah, I could never land it in a deck because it just felt like either it was unsynergistic or it wasn't impactful enough or it was too expensive. So yeah, so then I started building a deck around it. And it's been a lot of fun. It does have pretty much a singular game plan. I find decks that have the win con in the command zone really kind of make it difficult to build around. So you really just have to go all in on it. I couldn't really find any real flexibility, I guess. Pretty much it's you have a win con in your command zone. Why else would you be playing it? So I do build it and take it apart and build it and take it apart. Play it kind of where my mood fits. So we'll go through the deck. So yeah, Kokusho, obviously we wanted to die as much as possible, hopefully multiple times at a turn, but essentially, you know, we needed to die, I guess at least, what, say, you know, 8 times, and you know, hopefully, I guess, you know, people have life gain and stuff like that. So, you know, but over the course of the game, about 8 times. As well as, you know, damage they take themselves or offset any life gain that they have, things like that. But really, we want to resurrect this as much as possible. And we do want it to die, not exile. So, you know, obviously keep that in mind. So, we'll go through the deck. First up is these reanimation effects. Now, there's lots of different ways to do reanimation. With this one, really, it's going for that instant reanimation. I don't really want to be waiting too many turns, you know, to play a sorcery speed reanimate. So your opponents will try to exile it and things like that. So we do want to be able to sacrifice and bring it back kind of immediately, get that value and keep that value train going. So there's a lot of these feign death effects. You know, there's quite a few now. They've really kind of printed quite a few of them. So we'll go through them. Feign death. It really doesn't matter what it does. Because they all come with like some additional effect. It doesn't matter, right? So this one comes in tapped. So the tap ones are probably the worst ones, just because then we don't really have it as a blocker, but we're getting enough life gain to kind of offset that. So hopefully it's okay. But you know, this one comes with a counter. But really, it's when this creature dies, it will come back from the graveyard, and that's what we want, right? So we want Kokusho to die and then just come back because it's going to die again. And then come back. You get the point. Right, so Feign Death. Kai's Go Form is a nice one. So this one does work with Exile, but it is the only enchantment version of this. So something to put on Kokusho when, you know, when you can. But it is good because it protects from Exile as well, which is what your opponents will look to do. Maliki Rebirth, great. It's a land on the other side. Supernatural Stamina. So +2/+0, but it doesn't matter. We want that effect. Undying Evil, so he gets Undying, so it comes back with a +1/+1. And then Undying Malice, so this one also comes back with a +1/+1. So those are the 1 mana ones. So it's really, really important the amount of 1 mana ones. So we have 6 1 mana ones. I will try to play Kokusho with mana up to play one of these, right? So there's 6 of those. Abnormal Endurance +2/+0, Demonic Gift +2/+0, Fake Your Own Death +2/+0, and you get a treasure, which is kind of nice for a bit of that ramp. Return to Action +1/+0, and Lifelink. Yeah, that doesn't matter, of course, because really I'm not doing this preemptively. It's normally in response to something. So those are all those effects. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 10. So we have 10 of these, right? So the likelihood that we're going to have one is really high. So I do try to play Kokusho with these effects in place. So have them ready as backups for mainly Exile, unless you have Kai's Ghost Form. Because they will be your main bread and butter to kind of get Kokusho back. Now we have some other reanimation effects, or in this case for Extreme Reclamation, we're just going to bring it to our hand. I mean, we don't really care about the cost to our life because we'll be offsetting it, and you know we've already essentially cast it for 6 to get it out on the battlefield from the command zone. So you know, in theory, we should have that mana to cast it again. We want to keep that command zone tax low. So really, we're happy to play it from our hand. We don't want to be paying 8-10 mana for Kokusho if we can go avoid it. So just leaving it in the graveyard, and then for Extreme Reclamation it back to the hand. Reanimate, super simple, nice and cheap. Apprentice Necromancer, another one that's nice and cheap. Again, this one also, so the beginning of the next end step, it sacrifices itself, Kokusho, so we'll bring it back and then it will die, right? Because we want it to die. We're happy for it to die. So that's one's nice. Some of those effects sometimes exile. We don't want those. We want the ones that sacrifice, because then it will die. Animate Dead, great. Dance of the Dead comes in tapped, but doesn't matter to us. Doomed Necromancer, just straight out bring it out from the graveyard. And then Footsteps of the Goryo, another one that is sacrifice at the end step, so quite nice. Yeah. And then Necromancer can be played at Flash, and then you bury it at the end, so essentially sacrificing it. So that one's also quite nice, right? So you can do it instant speed. And then Chainer Dimension Master, the black doesn't really bother us, but when Chainer leaves, you're going to remove all nightmares, so it's going to come back as a nightmare. So you don't want anything to happen to Chainer, so you got to make sure that you have enough sack outlets to kill Kokusho. Fortunately, if there's a problem, we can put it in the command zone, so it's not like it's gone forever, but these will remove it from the game. So we do want to sacrifice, have our sack outlets ready to go. So our sack outlets. First up, Sacrifice. It's nice because it gives us that mana. Kokusho's 6 mana value. So 1 mana, cheap, instant, just sacrifice and then get that 6 mana, because we're going to need it for our Feign Death type effects, other kind of instant speed effects that we have. Viserys here, simple sack outlet. Scry 1's always nice, super cheap. Altar of Dementia. We don't really have a lot of mill effects, really. We just want as many cheap sacrifice outlets as possible. We don't want to be paying really any mana for it if we can. But it's nice to have. Deadly Dispute, so this one's 2 mana. It's going to give us a little treasure and some draw, which is nice. These are probably the worst of the effects, only because we want something that is repeatable. But this kind of fills too, where it kind of fills our draw spot as well. And the treasure is quite nice, right? Just in case we need to recast Kokusho again. Plunder Forbidden, another nice cheap one, right? So this is 2 mana, sacrifice Kokusho, draw 2, lose 2, deal 15 damage, gain 15 damage at instant speed. So really quite nice. Spawning Pit, super cheap, and you can get token for blockers, I guess. Astronaut's Altar gives us a bit of mana. Yara, First of Locthwain, just just kind of, it gets us a card, which is nice. It gets us a little life gain as well. So yeah, just nice value. Playcrafter, we really will always just be sacrificing our commander, so it's nice for a little bit of removal on their side, also because we're kind of lacking a bit of removal just because we are so focused on our game plan. And then Phyrexian Altar gives us mana. Disciple of Bolus, another nice one where it's draw X, where X is the power, so it's going to be 5. I'm going to gain 5, so that's nice, you know, gain life. The life is not really a big problem for us, but drawing 5 is very appealing. Ruthless Technomancer, so this one's a new one that I've been playing with. So it's going to come in, it's going to sacrifice, and we're going to get treasures, so that's great. And then we can reanimate if we want with the amount of treasures. We've got Deadly Dispute as well, so not too many treasure outputs, but you know, this is nice to come in, right? So with this and another treasure, we can get return equal to X, where X is so power. Okay, so it will just get itself, which is great. Strionic Resonator. So that was the sacrificing. So just on Strionic Resonator, so we want to be able to copy the trigger if possible, right? So the death trigger. So rather than trying to invest in sacrificing and then trying to bring Kokusho back, right? Because they're going to take a lot of cards in our hands to do that, a lot of actions in place to kind of get that set up. We've got Strionic Resonator. Now we're sacrificing, and now we're bringing Kokusho back, but we can copy that die trigger, which is really great value, right? It's only going to be 2 mana to copy it. And then Lithiform Engine, same thing. So this is nice. The interesting part with this one, so we can copy target activated or triggered. That's great, right? So it's a little bit more expensive to play, but the same is for Strionic Resonator. But it does give us the option of copying target permanent spell we control, right? So we can just copy Kokusho and then have it die to the legendary rule. Sounds pretty good, right? For 4 mana. So it's quite nice. So those are the copy effects. Now we've got just some like life gain payoff effects. So Veto, Thorn of the Dust Rose, it's a nice one. So whenever we gain life, target opponent's going to lose life. So it's going to double up this effect for somebody, so they're going to lose 10, which is nice. Then we have Great Merchant of Asphodel. We have quite a bit of devotion. So, you know, that's why like Yara, First of Locthwain's in here, you know, 3 pips and things like that. So devotion can be a nice way to kind of still end the game. You know, Kokusho I find is really good at getting, you know, people's life really low, but unless you're really drawing well and you're getting those effects, Kokusho can be sometimes difficult. You know, people have developed their boards, they've got their graveyard hate, they've got things in place to kind of stop you. Great Merchant of Asphodel kind of helps go down a different track where you've got, you know, you're just tracking your devotion essentially. So it's nice to kind of end the game that way. And then Sanguine Bond, whenever you gain life, so same thing as Veto. Target opponent's going to lose that much life, so doubling up that effect. Okay, so that's that. So ramp. So first up, so we do need a bit of ramp. You know, we've got a 6 mana value commander here, so we do want a bit of ramp. So Dark Ritual, Soul Ring, it's nice. Wayfarer's Bauble, just to get the lands out. Arcane Signet's great. Felwar Stone, someone will be playing black, or alternative, we can just essentially use it as a colorless. Jet Medallion, great. We have a lot of black spells. Mind Stone, can draw us a card if we really need. Thought Vessel, the no maximum hand size, not really too relevant in this deck, but 2 mana Rock's okay. Burnished Heart, just nice to get those lands out and onto the battlefield. You know, I can get this on 3, play my land on turn 4, do this, sacrifice it, so then the next turn Kokusho is ready to go, and hopefully with those land drops I can then play one of those 1 mana feign death kind of spells when someone tries to take Kokusho out. Grip Gas, great, doubling Expel Extort, great for starting to get people's life down. Solemn Simulacrum, just good value. Nakana Revenant, another doubler. Krix, Son of Yawgmoth, a lot of black pips, that's great. So that's the ramp. Some draw. So there was Deadly Dispute, obviously, but Knight's Whisper, just super cheap. Draw 2. Sign in Blood, draw 2 for 2. Phyrexian Arena, just nice. You know, as long as you get it down early, late game, it can be pretty bad. Read the Bones, you know, super simple. Scry 2, draw 2. And then Stinging Study. So, you know, we have a 6 mana value commander, so Stinging Study is pretty great. Instant speed, draw 6, lose 6. So that's the draw spells. And then we have removal, so we play a lot of swamps, so Defile, Feed the Swarm, just great. Get rid of those enchantments, you know, Rest in Peace or something like that. Infernal Grass, just simple removal. Soul Shadow is something that I've been liking more. So opponents sacrifice a creature or planeswalker with the highest converted mana value. That's usually the thing that you want to get rid of, but there are obviously cases where that's not. But it's, you know, it is still a 3-for-1, which is really nice. Deadly Rollick, you know, we do want our commander out, so having this will be free, which was nice. And then Hagra Mauling, you know, it's a land on the other side, so just having that flexibility. And then Snuff Out, you know, we will have a swamp, so we can pay that for life. Again, we're not really bothered about our life total, and so it's hitting non-blacks, you know, that's the restriction, but it's free. And then we have Board Wipes, so Damnation, gets rid of everything. Mutilate, we have a lot of swamps, so negatives, great for Indestructible. And then Toxic Deluge, just fantastic, super cheap, and we can pay, you know, whatever value we want. 5+ is some number that we would like, because we don't mind our commander dying. And then the lands, so Ancient Tomb, just has for 2. It's really nice. Again, we don't really care about the life. Bojuka Bog gets rid of people's graveyards, you know, just super great utility. A lot of these lands I consistently use over and over with my black decks. Cabal Coffers, we have a lot of swamps, so it'll tap for a lot of mana. Cabal Stronghold, we still play a lot of basics, so this is all right. Later in the game, it might net you 1, 2, but we have things like, you know, Burnished Heart, Wayfarer Bauble, that get those lands, so that's nice. Castle Lochthwain, just to help supplement our draw. High Market, it's a sacrifice outlet in the land spot, so that's really great. Myriad Landscape, again, to get those swamps out for our Defiles, our Mutilates, our Cabal Strongholds. Nykthos Shrine of Nyx, great for Devotion. We have a lot of black pips in this deck, so really nice. Phyrexian Tower, another one, is sacrifice outlet and gives us mana. It's fantastic. Strip Mind, so it's a land that destroys other lands. You should always be running something like this, depending on your budget, maybe Ghost Quarter or Strip Mine or Wasteland. But somebody will have a Cabal Copper, somebody will have a Field of Dead, somebody will have a Nykthos. These are really good for that. Takenuma, Abandoned Mire. So I've just been putting this in my black decks now. Now in this one, the mill is not too much, but if we really need Kokusho's in the graveyard, we can kind of get it back to our hand at least to then cast out of our hand. So that's okay. And then Urborg turns everything into swamps for our Cabal Coffers and our Defiles and Mutilates. And then War Room to help supplement our draw. And then 22 swamps. So lots of swamps for our Mutilate effects. So yeah, so that's my Kokusho deck, really focused around it dying and trying to bring it back with lots of reanimation effects, very focused on its own game plan, and little interaction, I guess, with other people's outside of some removal spells, but no kind of like stacks pieces or anything really. It's just about get Kokusho out, and then sacrifice it, right? So if you want to play some faster mana rocks, mana crypts, jeweled lotus, things like that, you know, they would definitely go fantastic in this deck. To swap out some of those slower mana rocks would be perfect. But yeah, really it's just about trying to get to 6, playing Kokusho, and then having mana up to either protect it for when it dies, or start the sacrifice chain and bringing it back with reanimates, with your feign deaths, things like that. Very focused on that. So if you have a very you know, casual, you want an interactive game, this is probably not the deck for you. If you've got your friends and you know, you guys have built some decks that are out there trying to win, then this one's really going to be beneficial for you, because you know, you have your win con in your command zone. So and people will know that, right? People can see that. So it is a lot of fun, and people do get wary, and the great thing is it gives you the life total to kind of buffer that experience out. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.